Good morning, and as always, it doesn't really matter whether I say good morning, good afternoon, good night. Who knows what time you'll actually be watching this? I wanted to make this video a while ago, and I probably should have, and I just didn't because you buy stuff and you use it and you like it or you don't like it, and sometimes it just slips your mind completely when it comes to making a YouTube video to review or give my thoughts and opinions on it. So today we're going to be talking about the Logitech MX Keys Mini wireless keyboard. And I know I probably should have my secondary camera up right now so you can get a bigger look at it, but we'll see some stuff on the screen and definitely talk about it. So the first thing that I wanted to do though is give my opinion on mechanical keyboards, mainly because before I purchased this one, I thought I wanted one. So I went to Best Buy and I bought one and I returned it. And it seems that Mr. Who's the Boss also has some similar opinions on mechanical keyboards.
Now, moving all the way up to $200, I regret buying a mechanical keyboard. Ever since I got my first MacBook in 2013, my primary keyboards to type on have all been Apple keyboards, whether that's the built-in ones on the MacBook or the Apple Magic Keyboard for the desktop. They're all kind of the same, which is to say really easy to type fast on because the keys have a total travel distance of like this, but they're just not the most satisfying. And I'd always been tempted by the allure of a mechanical keyboard. I mean, you ask any tech person, they'll tell you that mechanical is the holy grail. Because instead of all your keys pressing down on this one big squishy plastic sheet, every single key here has its own mechanism that makes each press that extra bit more purposeful and tactile. So one day, I caved. I went out and I bought myself the Corsair K95 Platinum, which is one of the better mechanical keyboards at close to $200. And I just couldn't get on with it. I mean, for starters, these clicky keys, they're really fun, but I completely overlooked just how annoying they were going to be. Not for me, I was having the time of my life, but for everyone in a 10-meter vicinity. Since I work at my parents' house, I just remember sitting down for a scripting session, and my sister, who was also trying to work next to me, slowly giving me more and more obvious side-eye until I eventually got the hint and stopped.
Bombastic side eye.
Now, I'd already kind of factored this in. I didn't go for the most clicky type of switch that you can get, but even then, it didn't work for me. I definitely also lost some typing speed, which I initially thought would be just teething pains, but it never picked up. Turns out, I'm quite an aggressive typer. When I hit keys, my fingers really want to bottom out those keys. But if you bottom out your keys on this, it's going to be slow because each key has so much travel distance. And also, I started to feel the impact on my fingers, more so than on any normal membrane keyboard because these keys have more cushioning. But then, the worst part of it was that over a longer period of time, having to constantly crick my wrists up like this, because of the sheer height of the keys, started compressing the nerves in my hands, leading to carpal tunnel syndrome. I was already on the edge with this anyways, so instead of investing in a really good wrist rest to try and fix the problem, I just handed it down and instead bought myself a specifically ergonomic keyboard, which I much prefer. I'll leave a link to this one below if you're keen.
And as you can see, he had a couple of issues with it, as did I. I do agree that when I was typing, I guess apparently having used so many membrane keyboards, I'm used to that really, really short travel distance of the key. And with those mechanical keyboards, the distance was just so great. And I said, this is too much. I also felt like the keys were fighting back when I was pressing them down. And I said, I don't feel like working this hard just to type. So I need to find something else. One of the things that really motivated me to get a mechanical keyboard, in addition to thinking it was kind of cool and yeah, hearing a little sound and knowing that the keyboards themselves are really well built, were the fact that the keys were backlit. And I guess I could have just Googled something, but I said, well, I see a bunch of mechanical gaming keyboards. I know that they're talking about RGB and all that type of stuff, so let me go ahead and try one of those. And I went to Best Buy. I got one of these HyperX Alloy Origins 65% compact wired keyboards, and I said, hey, this is worth a shot. And I used it for a couple of days, and I said, nah, I just can't get into it. So I returned it and decided to actually do what I just said I should have done, which is just Google, hey, are there backlit Bluetooth keyboards? And it didn't even have to be Bluetooth. It could have been a wired one, as these gaming keyboards would have been wired. But I ended up finding the Logitech MX Keys Mini, and I said, hey, this looks pretty good. So I went back to Best Buy. And let's look at some of these links up here. So we got, I did have it open. I don't know. There it is. So I went back to Best Buy and I saw it there and I said, and of course they have a couple of keyboards on display. So I started clicking around and I said, hey, this actually feels pretty good. Uh, there's a few just random sentences that I have in my mind when I'm practicing typing on a keyboard to try to get up to speed. And I said, you know what? This is worth a shot. So I see the price, and at the time I can't remember if it was still $100, but I see the price right here. And even today there are some variances on Best Buy's website because you have this color is $100, this color right here is 89, and this color right here should be what 96. So depending on the color that you get, you're going to end up paying slightly different amounts at Best Buy. I see the price while I'm in the store, and I say, you know what? Let me just again go back to the web. All right, retail price for this keyboard is $100. Now I did a little more searching because as I was looking on the box, I was trying to figure out what all came in the box, and I'm happy that I looked because what you get is the keyboard and you don't get the little USB receiver. And that's important because this keyboard and other ones, but some of the newer keyboards don't use the older USB receiver that Logitech's been using for a while. And in fact, let's go over here to this page. Yes. So you have technically three options. Now, the very first Logitech Bluetooth keyboard that I got, or wireless keyboard that I got, was one that used this 2.4 receiver. In fact, it was a Bluetooth mouse combo, and yeah, $20, $20 on Amazon, and it was absolutely perfect. And I said, okay, cool. I'll use that for however long I need to, and I was good to go for quite a while. And honestly, the only reason I'm not still using that one is because it's in storage, and that's it. It's in storage. Now, the next one, if we're going to the left, is the Logitech unifying little dongle right there. And I actually happen to have one of those right here. And yeah, you can see the little symbol right there if I hold it properly. And I said, okay, cool. Well, since I know I have one of these that came with this Logitech mouse that I had, there's a good chance that'll work. So I'm still in the store Googling. And no, apparently their newer technology does not work with their older little USB dongles right here. So I said, okay, that sucks. So now I'm like, well, wait a minute. I already have one in my possession, but the one I have in my possession isn't compatible with the new technology. But this new keyboard doesn't come with this new dongle. So do I have to buy one? So I'm looking at the price of the keyboard in store. I'm like, all right, $100. Best Buy, I don't believe, sells the actual dongle. So I, continue looking around online, and I find the price of the dongle, and I'm like, $15. Like I have to pay $15 for this thing? Like, why doesn't it come included with the keyboard or the mouse or whatever it is that you're choosing to use? And my assumption is that they're probably like most people that are going to use this are just going to connect it to their machine via Bluetooth instead of using one of these little dongles. And I was like, I guess I could risk that. But my issue here is that I have a dock right there and I'm constantly switching machines. So I don't want to have to rely on the Bluetooth connection between the keyboard and whatever machine that I'm using. Now, I will say, and I'm sure if I looked at the spec sheet, I could show you, and it's going to be hard to see, but there is the option to switch to different machines. So you compare it to 3 different machines. So as I'm switching computers, I could press the appropriate button and switch to the correct machine. But I still feel like it's easier just to have the USB little dongle plugged into my dock. And that way, whatever machine I'm using with my dock, my monitor, and my wired mouse that you can see right there, it all just kind of flows seamlessly. And I'm not worried about having to switch between different machines. I have owned one of Logitech's multi-device keyboards, and this is a multi-device mouse, and they do work fine. But I mean, even as you can see right now, I'm not even using this mouse anymore. I'm using the wired mouse because it just makes sense to have everything connected to the dock. And whenever I'm sitting here, I just know everything's going to work. So at this point, I'm looking and I'm like, well, do I want to spend $100 here and then $15 for the mouse for the little dongle, And I said, there has to be another way, maybe something on eBay, maybe something else. So I do a little more Googling, and I find out that the little dongle actually comes with the keyboard if you choose to buy the business edition of the keyboard. So I come to Dell's website and I see that it's on sale. And in fact, I think it was $70 back then. And I didn't buy it from Dell. I did end up buying it from Lenovo, and it's also on sale for $70. And I said, this is way better. Not only is the price of the keyboard cheaper than what it is if I bought it from Best Buy, but I also get the included little dongle, and it shows it right here in the corner. There it is. Yeah, it shows it right here in the corner. And that's everything that I need. So I had the box over there, and there wasn't anything fancy about the unboxing experience, but I am satisfied with the keyboard. Now, we are 12 minutes into this video, and after a little bit of editing, I'm sure it'll be slightly shorter. And you're probably asking yourself, well, how do you like the keyboard? I am thoroughly satisfied with it. I have no complaints. Absolutely none. The only complaint would have been the fact that the USB dongle didn't come in the box had I bought it just from Best Buy or wherever else. But because the one that I did buy came with it, no complaints. It is the perfect size for what I was looking for. Some people like full-size keyboards. I don't. I thought I did at one point. I wanted that number pad on the side of the keyboard. And as time went on, I realized I really wasn't using it that much. I think there was a time when I was doing a lot in Excel, taking a class or something, and I found myself constantly typing numbers or things like that. And once that class was over, I was like, I'm really not using this part of the keyboard too much. And in terms of ergonomics, yes, as Mr. Who's the Boss was talking about too, I don't like keyboards where my wrists are slanted like that, so I would not use one of those. But what I did find out is that because those full-size keyboards are so wide, I would place it in front of me, and the mouse would be a little bit too far to the right. So as I'm sitting here, my hands comfortably are in front of me like this, but I'd have to bring my right hand all the way over here to use the mouse, and it got really uncomfortable. So when I started using this shorter keyboard, and even when I was using that mechanical keyboard for a little while, it felt really comfortable to be able to sit here in a more neutral, natural position and have access to all the keys that I need, and just slight movement over, and there's the mouse right there, as opposed to having to reach all the way over here. And you might say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, but it is. It really is. And my shoulder really started feeling it. And not my wrist so much, but definitely I felt it up here because just the distance that my arm was having to move to use the mouse and to reach for it was a bit much. So I am thoroughly satisfied with it. In terms of key depth, travel, it's perfect. I mean, one, it's a solidly built keyboard, and I'm pressing on it like you can see it. I mean, there is some flex because it's not, I guess the most indestructible thing, but it is solid. And I thoroughly love how deep the keys travel when I'm typing on it. And unlike mechanical keyboards, they aren't super loud, so they're not super annoying when you're clicking on them. Since it is wireless, it does have a battery in it. And I will say the battery life is great. When I first bought it, I meant to actually gauge when I was going to have to charge it again. And on the website somewhere, it estimates exactly how long they expect it to last, but it all depends on, your usage and things like that. But I'm going to say a solid 2 weeks at least between charges. Don't quote me on that because I really can't remember the exact day that I bought it and the exact first time that I needed to charge it. But it wasn't like, oh man, I just bought this 2 or 3 days ago and I'm charging it again. Absolutely not. No, this thing is great. And as I've always, well, not always, but as I've been saying for months now and kind of years, when all of your devices charge using the same port, it just makes everything easier. USB-C, like it just makes everything easier. And I'm sure at some point in the future, we'll move on to something else. But for now, this little thing charges via USB-C right there. And you got your little on-off switch right there. And one thing I just noticed, looking on the bottom right there, is if you can see the text, it actually says MX Keys for Business, which aside from including the little unifying well, not the little bolt dongle in the box. I don't know the difference between the business version of the keyboard and the non-business version. So, and honestly, I don't care because the business version, which comes with the USB dongle, is cheaper. So, so that's great. Battery life is good. Key feel is good. The fact that it charges via USB-C is good. The width of the keyboard is good. The size of the keys are good. And I mean, the microphone is up here, so you'll hear some of the clicking, but I mean, overall, a really, really satisfying keyboard. So as we're approaching 17 minutes in, I gotta say, if you're looking for a wireless keyboard like this, by all means, consider buying it. Do not go to Best Buy. Do not go to Logitech's website, because I don't even know on Logitech's website if they have the business version. I mean, if they do, great. But the mere fact that you can go to Lenovo or Dell and get it for $30 cheaper, give or take a few dollars, depending on which color you get, and get the actual little bolt dongle in the box is definitely a great thing. So I don't have anything bad to say about the computer, about the keyboard. The only thing that I might complain about, if I needed to, which I don't, is the fact that even though, and let's see if we do it sideways, yes, you can see there is kind of a little lip here at the top. So the keyboard is raised, and when you're typing, it is at an angle. Sometimes it's nice to be able to adjust that, but I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, in fact, I will say I do know that was one concern when I first bought it. I was like, is this height going to be appropriate? And yeah, it was. So I'm sitting here typing, have absolutely no problems. So in conclusion, if you need Bluetooth, wireless, compact keyboard, by all means, give this a consideration. The last thing I will say is, because as I'm looking at Best Buy's website here, was it Best Buy's website? Okay. The fact that this one is on clearance, I don't know if that's the color. That's why it's on clearance. I don't know if Logitech is on the verge of releasing something new, but something to potentially consider, that maybe something else is right around the corner, which is always the case. So I wouldn't take that into too much consideration, but it is something to be aware of. Now, I think I've been going on for long enough. And as always, thanks for watching. By all means, if you have any questions about the keyboard, please ask. All right.